Hello and welcome to class. This is English e-studies. It is an e-class and we're looking at an EXPO. This is an EXPO before WASSCE exams. Please take notes. EXPO WASSCE Paper 1 Section A. Now a candidate who writes Paper 1 Section A, particularly everything in Section A very well, that candidate is sure of at least a B. Okay, so let's take a look at this EXPO on informal letter writing. This is very important, informal letter writing. Now, by the time we are done with this and you grasp everything you've learned in the course of this lesson, now you're sure of 50 over 50 because this particular question is worth 50 marks. All right, once again, this is powered by Sam's English e-tutorial. We are based in Nigeria, West Africa. I am your regular preceptor, Samuel Ikechukwu Emocho. Now it's a standard class. We are going to first of all look at the lesson objectives that include the following. First, we're going to define and outline the features of informal letter and observe a model and of course write an informal letter. We shall, however, answer given questions. Now let's get to the details of this lesson. Number one, when we talk about informal letter, please, informal letter writing. It's important to take note of this. Now, informal letter writing, as the name suggests, is a type of letter written to only friends and family members, such as father, mother, brother, sister, son, uncle, and so on and so forth, including aunt, nephew, cousin, etc. It usually begins with felicitation and, of course, exchange of pleasantries. Now, that is informal letter. Remember, that's what we're working on tonight. Informal letter writing. I think we need to correct it. Yes, informal letter writing. Okay, now that noted, it is a letter written to F and F, friends and family. Take note. Friends and family, not outside this. Now, quickly, let's take a look at the various features of the informal letter. Number one, a good friendly letter must have the following parts. The first thing, the writer's address, the date, the salutation, the body, and of course, the complimentary clause. Now, let's take them one after the other. Now, first of all, here is an example of an informal letter. As you can see, the address is there, the dates. Here is the address, the dates, the salutation, body, and of course complimentary clause. Now we shall finally get to the details of this. Okay, now first of all, very important, what you must do on WASSCE day if you choose to write an informal letter. Number one, the address. I'm going to use my school as an example. Here is Potter's Touch High School, Igbogene, Yenegua, Bayelsa State, 25th May 2025. Yes, 2025. Okay, now this is standard address. Take a look at this. Now, let's take a look at points to note in this address, because once you get it right, the examiners will just be happy with what you've done. So, points to note in this address. Number one, notice that all the first letters in all words that make up the address are all capitalized. So the initial letters here, Potter's Touch High School, all of them down to May, they are all capitalized because they are proper nouns. Proper nouns are names of organization. Potter's Touch High School is an organization. It's a name given to place names like Igbogene, Yenegua, Bayelsa. It is also a name given to months of the year and days of the week. These are all examples of proper noun. The next thing to note is that at the end of each line, there is a comma. Notice that there is a comma and a full stop at only the end of the last line, which is Bayelsa State. Okay, take note of this. This is important. And then number three, there is a sequential ordering. So if you take a look at this sequential ordering, the examiner wants to see this sequential ordering. What does that mean? Potter's Touch is first. It is in Igbogene. Okay, it is smaller than Igbogene. That is the community hosting the school. Now the community is smaller than Yenagoa. Yenagoa is smaller than Bayelsa State. So in a pyramid shape, the smallest is at the topmost part. So you arrange your address this way. Examiners are usually happy to see addresses arranged this way. So the smallest part is placed at the topmost part. Can you see that? So there is a sequential ordering. Portal Start is in Igbogene. Igbogene is in Yenagoa, while Yenagoa is in Bayelsa State. So order it that way. Now capitalizing the entire letters in all the words of the address results in strong penalization. So you're not expected to capitalize everything here except the initial letter of each of the words as seen there. So take note. And then the next thing to note in this address is the fact that the date must at all times be written as seen above. And so let's take a look at the date, the months there. Let's assume the month is June. Capital J in June, capital M, okay, in May. Does that make sense now? I guess it does. Okay, now we progress further. So capital M in May. Okay, now again, like I said, realize that at the end of all of these, after May, there is a comma and then a full stop after a year. So that is about the address and dates. Now the next thing to note again is the salutation. The salutation could come in this form: Dear James or My Dear James, Dear Mom or My Dear Mom. All right, now points to note about this salutation. Number one, salutations must be written very close to the margin. Look at the margin there. Very close to the margin as seen above. This is EXPO in case you want to choose informal letter writing in these WASSCE exams. Now the next thing to note is that any of those examples is appropriate. However, take note of the capitalization of the initial letters except for the word dear. So if you're going with the first one, Dear James, the initial letters must be capitalized. But if you're going with the second one, My Dear James, the D in dear will no longer be capitalized. Please take note. Examiners will take note of this. So you capitalize my, M in my, and J in James, and leave the D uncapitalized in dear. All right. And then the next thing to note is that it is most preferable to write mom or mommy than mother. So in informal letter, don't say dear mother. You may lose little marks if you write mother. Mother is formal English. Mommy is informal English. Remember, you're writing informal letter. So take note of this. It is so because, like I said, mom and mommy is informal expression and mother is formal expression. So take note of the salutation. Now the next thing to take note of is actually the body. Now, points to note about the body. Number one, the writer must open up a paragraph and begin with felicitations, stroke inquiry greetings, and must end with a question mark. So usually, how are you? It's a question. You must end it with a question mark. All right. Number two, after question marks, the next word must begin with an uppercase letter. That is to say, once you have a question mark like this, the next word, let's assume you want to write all, you must begin with a capital letter. If you begin it this way, the examiners will circle your A and deduct half a mark. That simply means that whenever you have a question mark, it means that the sentence has ended, a new one begins. The next point to note is that the contraction of words is absolutely necessary. Example, you have should be contracted as you have. Please take note. Okay, instead of writing something like I will in informal letter, prefer to write it I will. So contract. This is contraction. This is not acceptable. This is acceptable in informal letter writing. So take note. Your examiners want to see all of that in the body of your letter. Now, let's quickly progress again. Now, the next thing we want to note about the body is the fact that colloquial expressions must be minimal. Colloquial expression is allowed because it's an informal letter. So they should be written in quotes whenever you want to pick any colloquial expression. For instance, how you dey is allowed, but don't have it more than 2 in the body. How you did, how far now. Once you do that, put it in quotes. Examiners want to see this colloquial expression because you're writing informal letter. Don't overdo it, not more than 2 in a sentence as in there. So the essence is to buttress informality being an informal letter. Then the next thing to note is that appropriately utilize any necessary punctuation mark. Also spell correctly. This is important. Your use of English must be simple and correct, grammatically and semantically. To do this effectively, proofread your letter twice, if possible, before submitting. So take notes. You must proofread. Don't just write and submit. Read through again and correct whatever you've written. Now, your sentences must be grammatically correct, semantically correct. Semantically here has to do with meaning. It must be meaningful and it must be grammatically correct. Okay. Now, the next thing to note is that remember to ask your recipient to reply your letter. This should be done in the last paragraph of the body of the letter. Remember to ask your recipients to reply your letter. This is important. Now, the last thing to note is actually the closing. And how about the closing? Prefer to say yours sincerely. That is the rule. Yours sincerely and just one name. This is important. Number 1, points to note. Number 1, the Y in yours should be capitalized. Take a look at the Y in yours. It must be capitalized. Yours sincerely, James. Okay? And then the next thing, the S in sincerely should be written in lowercase. Look at the S here in lowercase. Please take note of that. The S in sincerely should be written in lowercase, while the Y in yours should be written in uppercase. Take note. And then the next thing to note is that there must be a comma after sincerely. So after sincerely, notice the comma there. Can you see the comma there? Very important. And then the next one, there mustn't be any signature. Signature is not allowed here. And then again, only one name should be written. If you have 3 names, write only one. Your first name, your first or common name should be written. James is okay. Just the way I've shown you here. Apply it this way. Okay? Just one name should be written. And then mind you, yours, it is not allowed. It is not acceptable to write yours like this. This is one common error that students make. You don't write yours with apostrophe. This is wrong. You cannot find it in the dictionary. Now it is written like this, yours without apostrophe, because it is a possessive pronoun. On that note, we shall call it a day. Once again, thank you so much for listening. But before we go, I'd like you to take a look at this practical example. Now, look at this. Winners Baseball Academy at Kemfa, Bayelsa State, June 2020. And this is an example. Dear Ben, very close to the margin. Okay, how are you and your studies? Has the lockdown been eased in Port Harcourt? I guess you cope it with the new normal of attending classes online. I really wish you resume and continue our classes at school. I wish to find out how prepared you are. I've been informed by one of our senior teachers that JSS3 and SS3 students may be asked by the government to resume before other students in order to prepare for our external exams that will soon begin. We have got to get back to our books since we've both promised our parents of a plan to score A and at least B in all subjects. Kindly reply my letter as usual to know how you're going about your e-lessons and exam preparations. Thank you. Yours sincerely, done. Just in this form. Okay, this is a practical example. On this note, we shall call it a day. Thank you once again for listening. I am once again Samuel Ikechukwu Fimocho. I hereby sign out.